Mrs.
Hello.
Kamil, who is present
Niti sitta agarsiise. Okay, meeqa? Okay.
Even the president of Ethiopia is now a woman. In addition to which you have appointed a female Supreme Court
Jaarsi dhaaraan jiru niti dimtu?
Justice. Mr. Prime Minister,
Okay, sure.
lifting the existing state of emergency was a matter of urgency.
Indubbatin immoo Firiyaatim ተመሰገነች ተጠርታ ተጠርታ ሰው መቃሺ ዶፍተን ይተቲ
Thereby acknowledging that opposition is
የቀረስኩ
part
ነው
of a healthy democratic environment. Knowing that free speech is a cornerstone of democracy, you abolished public censorship and thereby enabled the development of a free and independent press. You have strengthened civil society by taking a strong stance against corruption and bribery in the public sector. You have declared a commitment to hold free and democratic elections, which are a prerequisite for true democracy. The Norwegian Nobel Committee stands behind you and support you and your efforts for a democratic, peaceful society. In recognizing your work by awarding you the Nobel Peace Prize, we were not expressing an opinion on how or if you should lead the Ethiopian people in the future. The leadership of Ethiopia and its political platform must be decided by Ethiopian people and the Ethiopian people alone. Our award is based on the will of Alfred Nobel, and we recognize your endeavors being in the true spirit of that will. You have chosen a path that we believe will consolidate peace and prosperity in your country. Dr. Abiy Ahmed, we are aware that during the course of your life, you have walked several different paths. You were born into a traditional family of simple means, to a mother who was an Amara Orthodox Christian, and to a father who was an Oromo Muslim. Diversity seems to be in your origin. As an adult, you had a long military career, including participation in a United Nations peacekeeping operation in Rwanda, and before permanently entering Ethiopian politics, you held the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. On top of that, you have been able to complete your PhD at the Institute of Peace and Security Studies at the University of Addis Ababa. And please permit me to also add a personal trait to your list of merits: your profound humility. You rarely speak publicly of your achievements and your success. The complexity of your background has made you well suited for the third task encompassed in our acknowledgement of your achievements today, namely your work for peace and reconciliation in the East African region. You have put yourself at the disposal of your neighbors in the region to mediate disputes and conflicts. In Sudan, you have mediated between the military regime and the civil opposition to find a transitional solution in the aftermath Omar al-Bashir's leadership. Your efforts have been much appreciated by the parties involved, and it has resulted in a signing of a draft constitutional declaration which aims at ensuring a smooth transition into civil rule. You have also been engaged in peace and reconciliation talks in South Sudan and have been willing to address the very real need of both Sudan and South Sudan to find and revitalize peaceful solutions to the great troubles that have afflicted their countries. Additionally, you have sought to mediate between Kenya and Somalia in their protracted conflict over rights to a disputed marine area. There is now hope for a resolution to this conflict. And finally, you made crucial contributions to normalizing the diplomatic and political relationship between Djibouti and Eritrea. You have, by this, demonstrated an understanding that peace among neighbors is essential in a troubled region. You have made common cause with all the stakeholders from Eritrea, Djibouti, Sudan, South Sudan and Kenya, who have participated in promoting mediation and peaceful resolution. You represent a new generation of African leaders who realize that armed conflict and ethnic hostilities must be resolved by peaceful means. This year's Peace Prize is a recognition of all the efforts made by all the nations and individuals involved. They say that good news rarely arrives from the Horn of Africa. Historically, good news did in fact come from Africa. Ethiopia is the cradle of humankind. The first Homo sapiens emigrated from the territory of your country. In this sense, we are all Ethiopians. Your country has a unique history, also within an African context, since it was never colonialized by any Western power. It is in part for this very reason that Ethiopia is home to the African Union. But the good news of today is your endeavors to establish a new order of peace initiatives, openness and peaceful mediation to find new solutions to old disputes. The Norwegian Nobel Committee fully understands that peace is created in cooperation with others. But when we are awarding the Peace Prize to you as an individual, because you have personally made an extraordinary difference across several arenas, it is the totality of your efforts that convinced us that it is you, Mr. Prime Minister, who have made the most significant contribution to peace in the past year. In phrasing my statement this way, I am in fact quoting the terms of the will Alfred Nobel. You have also fulfilled another requirement according to the will, namely to strengthen fraternity both between peoples and between nations. The first African to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, Albert Lutuli, eloquently expressed the vision of the Peace Prize in his acceptance speech here in Oslo on 10 December 1961. Speaking as a minister of the church shortly before the Christmas holidays, he said, "May the day come soon when the people of the world will rouse themselves and together effectively stamp out any threat to peace in whatever quarter of the world it may be found. When that day comes, there shall be peace on earth and goodwill amongst men, as was announced by the angels." Albert Lutuli's vision probably exceeded even Alfred Nobel's imagination. But we can use it as an ideal and inspiration to create more justice, more fraternity, and more peace. But if we are to achieve that goal, we must get to work. And that is exactly the job you have taken upon yourself. Thank you.
Begrunnelsen gitt, og nå skal om kort tid kanskje verdens mest prestisjefulle pris deles ut. Og det var mange rørte ansikter på de første radene på prisvinnerens side av salen.
Mr. Prime Minister, I got lost in words. I'm here to give you an award in the form of a diploma and a gold medal.
Og derfor har vi lagt med både diplom og gullmedalje som bevis. Rådhussalen har nå reist seg for å gi fredsprismottageren applaus. Det skal nå bli mer musikk, og det fra prisvinnerens hjemland. Vi skal om kort tid få høre den etiopiske popartisten og låtskriveren som er kjent under artistnavnet Betty G. som under den afrikanske musikkseremonien og African Music Awards var nominert til 7 priser og vant 3 av dem.
I now call upon the Nobel Peace Prize laureate of 2019 to come forward and give his Nobel lecture. Prime Minister.
Vi er fremme ved selve Nobelforedraget ved Etiopias statsminister Abiy Ahmed.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, fellow Ethiopians, fellow Africans, citizens of the world, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to be here with you today and grateful to the Norwegian Nobel Committee for recognizing and encouraging my contribution to a peaceful resolution of the border dispute between Ethiopia and Eritrea. I accept this award on behalf of Ethiopians and Eritreans, especially those who made the ultimate sacrifice in the cause of peace. Likewise, I accept this award on behalf of my partner and comrade in peace, President Isaias Afwerki, whose goodwill, trust, and commitment were vital in ending the 2-decade deadlock between our countries. I also accept this award on behalf of Africans and citizens of the world for whom the dream of peace has often turned into a nightmare of war. Today, I stand here in front of you talking about peace because of faith. I crawled my way to peace through the dusty trains of war years ago. I was a young soldier when war broke out between Ethiopia and Eritrea. I witnessed firsthand the ugliness of war in frontline battles. There are those who have never seen war but glorify and romanticize it. They have not seen the fear. They have not seen the fatigue. They have not seen the destruction or heartbreak, nor have they felt the mournful bitterness of war after the carnage. War is the epitome of fail for all involved. I know because I have been there and back. I have seen brothers slaughtering brothers on the battlefield. I have seen older men, women, and children trembling in terror under the deadly shower of bullets and artillery shells. You see, I was not only a combatant in war, I was also a witness to its cruelty and what it can do to people. War makes for bitter men, heartless and savage men. 20 years ago, I was a radio operator attacked to an Ethiopian army unit in the border town of Badime. The town was the flashpoint of the war between the two countries. I briefly left the foxhole in the hopes of getting a good antenna reception. It took only but a few minutes, yet upon my return, I was horrified to discover that my entire unit had been wiped out in an artillery attack. I still remember my young comrade in arms who died on that ill-fated day. I think of their families too. During the war between Ethiopia and Eritrea, estimated 100,000 soldiers and civilians lost their lives. The aftermath of the war also left untold numbers of families broken. It also permanently shattered communities on both sides. Massive destruction of infrastructure further amplified the post-war economic burden. Socially, the war resulted in mass displacements, loss of livelihoods, deportation, and denationalization of citizens. Following the end of active armed conflict in June 2000, Ethiopia and Eritrea remained deadlocked in stalemate of no war, no peace for 2 decades. During this period, families were split over borders, and see or talk to each other for years to come. Tens of thousands of troops remained stationed along both sides of the border. They remained on edge, as did the rest of the country and region. All were worried that any small border clash would flare into a full-blown war once again. As it was, the war and the stalemate that followed were threats for regional peace, with fears that a resumption of active combat between Ethiopia and Eritrea would destabilize the entire home region. And so, when I became Prime Minister about 18 months ago, I felt in my heart that ending the uncertainty was necessary. I believed peace between Ethiopia and Eritrea was within reach. I was convinced that the imaginary wall separating our two countries for much too long needed to be torn down. And in its place, a bridge of friendship, collaboration, and goodwill has to be built to last for ages. That's how I approached the task of building peace, a peace bridge with my partner, President Isaias Afwerki. We were both ready to allow peace to flourish and shine through. We resolved to turn our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks for the progress and prosperity of our people. We understood our nations are not enemies, and instead we were victims of the common enemy called poverty. We recognized that while our two nations were stuck on all the grievances, the world was shifting rapidly and leaving us behind. We agreed we must work cooperatively for the prosperity of our people and our region. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today we are reaping our peace dividends. Families separated for over 2 decades are now united. Diplomatic relations are fully restored. Air and telecommunication services have been reestablished, and our focus has now shifted to developing joint infrastructure projects that will be a critical lever in our economic ambition. Our commitment to peace between our two countries is ironclad. One may wonder how it is that a conflict extending over 20 years can come to an amicable resolution. Allow me to share with you a little about the beliefs that guide my actions for peace. I believe that peace is an affair of the heart. Peace is a labor of love. Sustaining peace is hard work, yet we must cherish and nurture it. It takes a few to make war, but it takes a village and a nation to build peace. For me, nurturing peace is like planting and growing trees. Just like trees need water and good soil to grow, peace requires unwavering commitment, infinite patience, and goodwill to cultivate and harvest its dividends. Peace requires good faith to blossom into prosperity, security, and opportunity. In the same manner, trees absorb carbon dioxide to give us life and oxygen. Peace has a capacity to absorb the suspicion and doubt that may cloud our relationship. In return, it gives back hope for the future, confidence in ourselves, and faith in humanity. The humanity I speak of is within all of us. We can cultivate and share it with others if we choose to remove our masks of pride and arrogance. When our love for humanity outgrows our appreciation of human vanity, then the world will know peace. Ultimately, peace requires an enduring vision, and my vision of peace is rooted in the philosophy of Madamar. Madamar, an Amharic word, signifies synergy, convergence, and teamwork for a common destiny. Madamar is a homegrown idea in our humane society by pulling together our resources for our collective survival and prosperity. In practice, Madamar is about using the best of our past to build a new society and a new civic culture that thrives on tolerance, understanding, and civility. At its core, Madamar is a covenant of peace that seeks unity in our common humanity. It pursues peace by practicing the values of love, forgiveness, reconciliation, and inclusion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I come from a small town called Bashasha, located in the Oromia region of western Ethiopia. It is in Bashasha that the seeds of Madamar began to sprout. Growing up, my parents instilled in me and my siblings an abiding faith in humanity. Madamar resonates with the proverb, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper. In my little town, we had no running water, electricity, or paved roads, but we had a lot of love to light up our lives. We were each other's keepers.
አፈዘዛቸው ፈረንጆቹ።
Faith, humility, integrity, patience, gratitude, tenacity, and cooperation, of course, are like a mighty stream. And we travel together on 3 country roads called love, forgiveness, and reconciliation. In the Madamar idea, there is no us and them. There is only us, for we are all bound by a shared destiny of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation. For the people in the land of origins, in the 13 months of sunshine, Madamar has always been second nature. Thank you very much. Ethiopians maintained peaceful coexistence between the followers of the 2 great religions because we always came together in faith and worship. We, Ethiopians, remained independent for thousands of years because we came together to defend our homeland. The beauty of our Ethiopia is its extraordinary diversity. The inclusiveness of Madamar ensures no one is left behind in our big extended family. It has also been said, no man is an island. Just the same, no nation is an island. Ethiopia's Madamar-inspired foreign policy pursues peace through multilateral cooperation and good neighborliness. We have an old saying, በሰላም እንድታድር ጎረቤትህ ሰላም ይደር። ዮ ኦላን ነገያም ብሎ ዮ ኦላን ነገያም ብሎ ነጋም ብለኒ። It is a saying. Thank you. It is a saying shared in many African languages, which means for you to have a peaceful night, you never shall have a peaceful night as well. The sense of this proverb guides the strengthening of relations in the region. We now strive to live with our neighbors in peace and harmony. The Horn of Africa today is a region of strategic significance. The global military superpowers are expanding their military presences in the area. Terrorist and extremist groups also seek to establish a foothold. We don't want the Horn to be a battleground for superpowers, nor a hideout for the merchants of terror and brokers of despair and misery. We want the Horn of Africa to become a treasury of peace and progress. Indeed, we want the Horn of Africa to become the horn of plenty for the rest of the continent. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as a global community, we must invest in peace. Over the past few months, Ethiopia has made historic investments in peace. the returns of which we will see in years to come. We have released all political prisoners. We have shut down detention facilities where torture and vile human rights abuses took place. Today, Ethiopia is highly regarded for press freedom. It is no more a jailer of journalists. Opposition leaders of all political stripes are free to engage in peaceful political activity. We are creating an Ethiopia that is second to none in its guarantee of freedoms of expression. We have laid, thank you. We have laid the groundwork for genuine multi-party democracy, and we will soon hold a free and a fair election. I truly believe peace is a way of life, war a form of death and destruction. Peacemakers must teach peacebreakers to choose the way of life. To that end, we must help build a world culture of peace. But before there is peace in the world, there must be peace in the heart and mind. There must be peace in the family, in the neighborhood, in the village, in the towns and cities. There must be peace in and among nations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there is a big prize for enduring peace. A famous protest slogan that proclaims "No justice, no peace" calls to mind that peace thrives and bears fruit when planted in the soil of justice. The disregard for human rights has been the source of much strife and conflict in the world. The same holds in our continent, Africa. It is estimated that some 70% of Africa's population is under the age of 30. Our young men and women are crying out for social and economic justice. They demand equality of opportunity and an end to organized corruption. The youth insist on good governance based on accountability and transparency. If we deny our youth justice, they will reject peace. Standing on this world stage today, I would like to call upon all my fellow Ethiopians to join hands and help build a country that offers equal justice, equal rights, and equal opportunities for all its citizens. I would like to especially express that we should avoid the paths of extremism and division powered by politics of exclusion. Our accord hangs in the balance of inclusive politics. The evangelists of hate and division are wreaking havoc in our society using social media. They are preaching the gospel of revenge and retribution on the airwaves. Together, we must neutralize the toxin of hatred by creating a civic culture of consensus-based democracy, inclusivity, civility, and tolerance based on Madamar principles. The art of building peace is a synergistic process to change hearts and minds, beliefs and attitudes that never cease. It is like the work of struggling farmers in my beloved Ethiopia. Each season, they prepare the soil, sow seeds, and control pests. They work the fields from dawn to dusk in good and bad weather. The seasons change, but their work never ends. In the end, they harvest the abundance of their fields. Before we can harvest peace dividends, we must plant seeds of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation in the hearts and minds of our citizens. We must pull out the weeds of discord, hate, and misunderstanding, and toil every day during good and bad days too. I am inspired by a biblical scripture which reads, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Equally, I am also inspired by Holy Quran verses which reads, "Humanity is but a single brotherhood, so make peace with your brethren." Thank you very much. Thank you. I am committed to toil for peace every single day, and in all seasons I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper too. I have promises to keep before I sleep. I have miles to go on the road of peace. As I conclude, I call upon the international community to join me and my fellow Ethiopians in our Medemar-inspired efforts of building enduring peace and prosperity in the Horn of Africa. Salam ለሁላችን ነገኝ ሁንደ ኬኛ ፈተው. Peace shall be upon all of us. Thank you very much.
Stående applaus for Nobelforedraget til fredsprisvinner Etiopias statsminister Abiy Ahmed.
ያስጨበጨበ
Og på motsatt side av fredsprisvinneren står nå etiopiske Betty G og hennes band klare til å bli fremmøte og dele deg hjemme enda mer musikk om kun kort tid når applausen etter hvert er begynt. Da skal Betty G, hjulpet av flere korister, fremføre melodien Hagere, som betyr farvel på norsk.
ስንት ኦሮሞ ዘፋኝ እያለ ያስጣል ሲታሙ ጀላንዴ
Be me.
adjø eller farvel var det den etiopiske poppartisten Betty og hennes band og korister fremførte for gjestene. Og vi begynner å nærme oss slutten på denne seremonien. Nå skal prisvinneren gratuleres I det kongefamilien nå går frem og tar fredsprisvinneren 2019 I hånd. Også hele Nobelkomiteen tas I hendene av den kongelige norske familien. Nå stiller de seg etter hvert opp for å avfotograferes, og så skal det være utgang. De forlater da salen I samme rekkefølge som de kom. Dere hører kanskje klokkespillet I Oslo rådhus nå. Det Laura Marie Rueslåtten som spilte klokkespillet både ved inngang og utgang. Vi hører nå Sonata for Bayard av den belgiske komponisten og dirigenten Jeff van Hoof. Nå forlater prisvinneren Abiy Ahmed og de gjenværende medlemmene av Nobelkomiteen-salen til applaus som vi både ser og hører. Også et lite hav av mobiltelefoner som foreviger øyeblikket der prisvinneren klemmer og hilser på mange av gjestene I salen. Det mange som gjerne vil ha en bit av fredsprisutvinneren. Det mange bilder som skal tas og mange klemmer som gjerne vil gis til den etiopiske statsministeren på veien ut fra Oslo rådhus og 2019s fredsprisseremoni. Han nå rett ved utgangen og får da de trolig siste hilsnene før han skal ut I den ventende bilen. Og så skal også etter hvert de mange gjestene I Oslo rådhus forlate. Det så kjent et noe kort opphold som fredsprisvinneren har I Oslo dette året, og derfor også programmet noe kortere. Det blir ikke noen fredspriskonsert I år, men han skal I morgen besøke Stortinget. Og med det så fredsprisutdelingen 2019 ved veis ende. Vi takker for